A spectacular performance. Curry from half court. Sometimes, something looks like it's been there a while.
We are here a week later, after about 4 games have been played. We are unfortunately 1-3 in those 4 games. We beat the Grizzlies. Woohoo! Pat on the back for
Took
that.
their ass.
And we unfortunately
Grizzlies
lost.
are extinct now.
We unfortunately
more
lost
states.
to 3 competent. I'll put a quote unquote competent because the Knicks, I mean, come on, they're not gonna really do anything. But we played against 3 competent, quality teams. And what did we do against them? We were 0-3 against them. What does that tell us for the future of this team as of this season? It's over. Ladies and gentlemen, in the Bay Area, it is over. Shut down and close all your dreams and aspirations for a chip this season, because it's not happening. There's no way that this team is going to beat quality teams in 7-game series until the finals and then win the finals. It's just not happening. So we're going to go game by game, just talk about what we witnessed. It's more or less the same now, of the struggles and the things that have not been going well. But why not beat a dead horse and talk about it again? So let's get started. How we doing, gentlemen?
Fantastic. I guess watching a lot of games recently has been put a dent in my mood, but we're here. Staying positive, trying to stay positive.
Trying to stay optimistic and not pessimistic. But more of the latter is going to be happening today. How about yourself, Tom?
Of course.
Great. I'm on spring break, so
Hope you're happy.
I forgot to mention we're doing a
work for a little bit.
partial in-person episode today. 2 of our hosts are in person today. Put in the comment section down below which 2 you think are in person. And if you're right, you're gonna win a hoodie. So good vibes on our ends. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to put on our sad boy hats, because we're gonna have to discuss about what we've been doing wrong. Let's start with the Knicks and the Warriors. We played against them at Chase Center. We were at home Monday, March 8th. Let's discuss what went wrong, what went right. Starting with who should I pass the rock to? Let's go Wesley.
Ooh,
Back at Thomas.
No, you can't pass the same.
I was going for the pass to West, but then like halfway through, like I kind of deflected it myself.
Okay. Yeah. It was like the
It was a
Faked me out.
It was like
Faked your own teammate out.
Jason Williams elbow pass.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Very deceiving.
Let's see.
Did you watch that entire game or not?
I did watch the entire Knicks game. The main thing that's sticking in my mind is the way that the Warriors were absolutely trying all out.
You said March 8th? You said March 8th? It was not March 8th.
Yeah.
18th, okay.
The Warriors had lost that game by about the 3-minute mark, but they were not acting like it. They were literally playing like full court press for like 2 straight minutes of that game. Every single possession down, trying to like force the Knicks into turnovers, desperately trying to get back into the game. They hit, I want to say like there was probably like a total of 20 points scored in the last 3 minutes of that game, because they were going down and hitting threes every possession, and they were trying their full court press and failing and giving the Knicks like easy layups on the other end, and they just did that like rinse and repeat for like 5 or 6 possessions in a row before eventually giving up. So I mean, shout out to us for trying. Yes. It was genuinely. I was kind of surprised. I thought they would. I was surprised to see them go that all out in that situation. But also like, I guess from a like general game analysis, Payton got fucking cooked by Jalen Brunson. It was not fair. Jalen Brunson was just destroying him. I mean, I can't like blame Kerr or anything. I think that's a smart idea to try to make that the primary matchup, kind of give Gary Payton a shot at containing him. Because I think he's maybe just a little bit too quick for Wiggins, who, in addition to everything else this season, seems to put like a negative 20% speed reduction or something like that. He doesn't seem as quick anymore. So I think making Gary Payton the primary matchup on Jalen Brunson was smart. but Brunson was just bullying him. I mean, he was getting past him. He was shooting over him. He was orchestrating pick and roll. And Gary Payton wasn't fighting over it. Uh, uh, Hartenstein I remember got a couple of just very easy layups and dunks off of the pick and roll because Brunson had beaten his man and they were having to rotate and scramble. And just generally, we made the Knicks offense look way more competent than it should have looked. Which, I mean, has been a pretty common theme with the Warriors this season. Outside of Draymond, with Wiggins again just not playing with the heart and effort that he needs to. Outside of Draymond and Gary Payton, we just don't have anything really. Basically, just nothing. I mean, Trey Davis is a decent rim protector, but not anything special. And then outside of that, we don't have a single positive defensive player on our roster. So, I mean, Draymond can only do so much. I mean, he's still playing great, by the way. You watch him on defense, he's still making things happen, but one man on defense can only do so much.
Yeah.
In a situation like that, where Gary Payton, who's the only other positive defensive player we have left, is getting shredded anyways by Jalen Brunson. Yeah, I mean,
yeah. As our perennial or part-time Knicks fan, I want to give a shout out to Jalen Brunson because even though sad the Warriors lost, I mean at least the Knicks, they're kind of proving themselves because even though they're injured as hell right now, like your second and third best players are both out right now. Julius Randle and as their second best player, by the way.
They're not
close to first best player.
OG is still on the court, so their second best player is playing.
He didn't play against us.
OG? Yeah, I don't think he played.
He's playing.
Anunoby didn't play
against us,
but he didn't play. And we were like basically fully healthy, and they kind of just like held us at bay. And I think that's a testament to Jalen Brunson like coming as close to being a superstar as you can without actually being a superstar. Because even though there was like Steph on the other end, Draymond, Wiggins, we were basically fully healthy. Jalen Brunson controlled the tempo of the game, and I mean, even though like I do remember Deuce McBride had like a career night. He was like 6 of 9 from 3. I mean, I think it was partially our defense that gave him all the confidence in the world to just keep firing. And when you got guys like Josh Hart, Isaiah Hartenstein, Jalen Brunson, that's a tough team if you give them a little bit of confidence early in the game, and then that kind of just carried throughout, and they just kind of like stiff armed us all the way till the end. Even though I know you guys said like the Warriors put up a good defensive stand towards the end. It
wasn't really a good defensive stand, but it was something new, which was kind of interesting. Like it was, I mean, and I don't know if either of you guys caught the end of that game, but it kind of reminded me a lot of what you see in March Madness, which is because teams go full court press a lot more in college than they do in the NBA.
Yeah.
With the second they pass the ball in, 2 guys trying to trap on every guy who gets the ball all the way down the court. I mean, obviously, what ends up happening when you don't execute it successfully, which the Warriors didn't at all, is that you basically end up
wide open dunks.
You end up going, wide open layups and dunks on the other end. And I think out of like the 4 times they tried it, they probably gave up 3 open baskets. I think they might have gotten 1 turnover out of it or something. They did go on a crazy hot shooting streak towards the end, which is what was keeping them in it. Really, they hit like 3s on 4 or 5 straight possessions. I mean, maybe that's an exaggeration. There's like 2 or 3 straight possessions they hit 3s on. And they got it within like 4, but then it pulled away. But I mean, I have not. It was just kind of a weird thing because I haven't seen them take any game that seriously this entire season. Like I feel like in a lot of other games, if they had been down like 8, like they were with like 2 minutes left, they wouldn't have started going full court. Yeah, but I mean, it didn't end up mattering. So
I mean, I feel like the Warriors are starting to like feel the pressure of like, okay, these games are starting to matter, and the Rockets, like, we're not even trying to get the 9th seed. The Rockets are creeping up on us, and we might get out of the play-in entirely. And I mean, it's kind of sad to see us like put in a pretty solid effort against an injury-riddled team with like only Jalen Brunson basically. And I mean, they're a really deep team. I do want to give the Knicks credit. Like they're still probably a borderline playoff team without Julius Randle and OG, but we should not be, especially at home, we should not be losing to Jalen Brunson basically on his own. As good as he is, we should not be losing to them on their own, even though they're very well coached, good defensive team. You're going to get that out of a Tibbs coach team. But it's really sad that we couldn't it's like a basic win that we should
absolutely
we should try to guarantee. But And it's kind of like you can point to a ton of games like that this season, like that. The other Memphis game, we won the most recent one, but the one where GG Jackson went off for like his career high. Those are games that you should like circle and be like, okay, that's a guaranteed win. But no, we couldn't win it. And like that's kind of the story of the season is these wins that or these games that should be guaranteed wins are not,
Right.
unfortunately.
And I think what's now taking a turn for the worse is that before, at least we were having insanely close clutch games, very close games until the last minute. But now we're noticing that teams are kind of they have control of the game and they don't let go of control of the game. Yeah, do we come close to kind of getting our momentum and maybe potentially looking like we could maybe win the game? Yeah, like Thomas was mentioning, there was that period of the game where we went on a crazy hot streak, got within 4, but we couldn't get it done. You look at a common trend with our losses.
That's a similar thing with the Timberwolves game. We haven't talked about it yet, but we came close to like, oh, are we gonna win this game? And then Mike Conley hits a 3, put them back up 3 after we tied it, and it's basically just like smooth sailing for them from there.
For then until after that. So that's an unfortunate thing that's ended up happening for us. Before we were, back and forth, our lead, their lead, our lead, their lead. Unfortunately, tough game. We lost it towards the end. Now it's just kind of like we don't really ever have control of the game, and it's just constant catch up. We're just constantly trying to catch up, and we are unable to do so because of the factors that you guys said. Because we just don't really have the roster, unfortunately. Podziemski did not really have a good game. He was given a lot shorter minutes than his normal playing time. Same with Kuminga. He was given 26. Wiggins. Whoa. Yeah, I don't think you guys mentioned him. He who shall not be named. That's what we're going to call him on this podcast from now on.
Yeah.
It's the
That
new pool.
shit. That absolute piece of crap. 7 points, 8 rebounds, 0 assists, 24 minutes. He really is a role player. Kerr has just given him role playing minutes. Pods also
Yeah,
minutes.
that's the thing with like a lot of the guys that you're talking about, like Podziemski and Trace Jackson Davis and Kuminga. Like that's like the one of the only positives from this season is that all 3 of those guys, they're young guys, and they've taken pretty large steps. Even like those 2 rookies, they've taken pretty large steps, and like they're solid rotation pieces. But and like that's good for like next season that we'll still have Podziemski, Kuminga, Trace. They can all improve. Even like Moody, I guess he's a very solid. I don't want to put our shortcomings on those 4 guys because it's mainly the big guys up top like Steph, Dre missing time, Clay regressing to basically being a cone. Wiggins also not even regressing being a cone. He's just a cone. I don't get why he's a cone now.
He's not even a cone. He's just what is he? Actually, what is
I
he?
mean,
He's not a cone.
I've already said it. My theory is he just
It's like an RC car with no batteries.
Yeah, I mean,
It's just a scumbag. That's what he is. God, yeah, so you're definitely right about that. Like we cannot blame those young guys. We could blame Wiggins. We cannot blame Pods, Trace, and
Kuminga.
and Kuminga. Although Kuminga, I think, unfortunately, due to the circumstances, he does have to take some blame because a role that he has to play, unfortunately, due to the circumstances, is he has to be a 1B to Steph, basically. He has to be the number 2 option.
But
And
that's the thing with me is like, oh, sorry, you can go.
Unfortunately, he has not given, it's not fair on him for us to expect that. But on the flip side, we do have to blame him because naturally, due to the circumstance, if we were to want to win a chip, he would have to be a number 2 option, a very solid number 2 option. And unfortunately, he's just not consistent enough yet, I would say. I don't think he's to the level yet where we could be like, yep, we got that number 2 option. This is like, like it's locked in. He's going to be there. Steph and Kuminga will be there every night, and we could trust them to lead us to victory. It's not the case. And I mean, CP3, we didn't mention him. He has been giving valuable minutes, albeit very little minutes. It's hovering around the 19-20 minute marks. But in this game, he played decent against the I know we have to run over that. The Grizzlies.
The Knicks. The Grizzlies.
The Grizzlies, he played pretty damn solid. The Pacers, he did about the same. And against the Timberwolves, he did not do as well as the other 3 games. But again, he's in that realm of around 10 points. He'll give you, some assists. He'll give you some rebounds. But that's all we could really expect from him. We can't really expect him to go and be a leader to victory. That's just not who he is at the age of 39.
Yeah. And I mean, I think like one of the points I want to bring up is like it's kind of weird because I don't think our defense is. I mean, our defense is like kind of a problem, but like it's not the biggest problem. I think our offense is like way more of an issue that needs to be addressed in the offseason. Because I mean, our defense is like at times we can like defend as a team pretty well. And man, I know that the one stretch towards game where we were doing like full court press, that obviously was like a low light, but I feel like pretty consistently, like looking at my eye test, our defense isn't terrible. Like obviously we get broken down sometimes. Jalen Brunson kind of cooked our defense, but like it's mainly our offense that is just like very directionless.
I
Like
definitely agree with that.
Steph's like our one, like Steph and sometimes Kuminga, and that's what the thing. I don't want to put that much pressure on a young guy to be consistently very good because it's pretty unusual unless they're like a Luka, a Trey Young,
Yeah.
an MJ, a LeBron. It's very rare for a young guy to be very good in like their 3rd season.
Yeah.
So I don't put that on him, but at the same time, like you said, we kind of have to. Like it's kind of being thrust upon him to be a second option on a like contender. Right? We're not contenders this season, but
On a
but
wannabe.
that is want to be contenders.
I mean,
But like that's the hope for is like next season are we gonna try to be contenders? Because we have to fix the roster, and then hopefully Kaminga can kind of grow that role.
I would just like to add, if as far as like metrics are concerned, Warriors are a much better offense than they are defense. They're I mean not
Really?
much better. They're 11th in offensive efficiency and 17th in defensive efficiency, which is a fairly significant gap. I have to say, on my eye test, I wouldn't say we're like an atrocious defense, but certain things keep happening. Like in that Memphis game, even though we were just shredding them on offense, but you start noticing like how does GG Jackson, because he put up like 20 or something again on us, and it's like, and
McBride too in the next game.
Up 35 on it.
35 on us. It's like how does that happen twice? And then you watch the game, and the reason it happens twice is because we're giving him open 3-pointers repeatedly, over and over. We're letting him take open 3-pointers, even though he's hitting them like at like a 45% rate. Why are we doing that? I don't know. I mean, it's a combination of a lot of things. Probably we don't take him seriously for one. I think it's been a somewhat of a problem with the way that this team handles like teams that are worse than them this whole season. You can tell they're going into games they're not taking anything seriously, and they get punched in the mouth because of it. But also I think a lot of it is just like guys they're not athletic, talented, motivated enough to like get over screens and chase around GG Jackson and stop him from putting up 35 on us. What I have noticed repeatedly is that on the perimeter, if teams want open shots against the Warriors, they're going to get open shots against the Warriors. I think that is just indicative of a defense that's not particularly great. Is it the worst? I mean, no, like the numbers support it. It's a mediocre to bad defense. It's not the worst. And I think a lot of it is because Draymond keeps things so locked down inside and keeps things stable in a way that a lot of teams, I mean, nobody else in the league has a guy who can do what he does. So there's going to be a defensive floor for the Warriors as long as he's out there that other teams don't have. But the personnel otherwise, they're just not. I mean, you think about 39-year-old Chris Paul, 36-year-old Steph, 33-year-old Clay, Kuminga, who, I mean, as well as he's playing on offense, just doesn't know what he's doing half the time on defense. You talk about, I mean, for a while it was Kevon Looney. I mean, you talk about a guy who just couldn't stay with me on the perimeter. Pods, who's small, and I mean, he's a great at taking charges, and he's smart defensively, and he makes rotations. But again, he's small and he's not particularly athletic, and he's going to get blown by, and people are going to shoot over him. Like the personnel we have chasing guys around, trying to match up 1-on-1 is not good enough at all on the defensive end.
Yeah. I mean, wait, I was kind of curious. I'm actually kind of curious about something because. Oh, sorry, go.
I was just gonna finish on my point. For me personally, because this was really responsible. Wes was saying, I would respectfully disagree. I would say that as long as Steph and Clay are on the roster, the priority should probably be on bringing in somebody who can play defense on the perimeter. Now, theoretically you would want a player who's good enough that they can be a positive on offense and defense. Like you want to bring in like a Paul George who's hitting free agency this year. I don't know if the money works on that. I doubt it based on everybody else we're playing, but I mean you'd love for that to happen. You'd want to be looking at like a 3-and-D wing essentially. That would be my ideal
Robert
target.
Covington.
Yeah, I mean if only
Is he retired or where is he?
Robert
He's in Philly, right?
doesn't
He's in
watch.
Philly, right?
It'd be great. Prime Robert Covington on that team would be incredible.
Dude, what about Prime PJ Tucker?
Prime PJ Tucker on this team. Oh my god. No, I mean, but like you want like basically a 3-and-D wing because the reality is like if this team is even gonna be competing next year, you just have to assume that Kuminga's gonna blossom into a true number 2, and that would solve some of the problems. And part of that blossoming would also be him developing as a passer, which is like who knows.
I mean, he's better. He's been pretty good in the past.
He's not. He's a terrible passer. It's
Not terrible.
honestly
Kaminga, right?
Kuminga. It's honestly a shame.
He's not a good ball. He's not a good playmaker.
He's not a great playmaker. One of the things he really struggles with, especially, is just location and stuff on passes. Even when he sees the guy, he'll throw it too low or too high or just at the wrong angle and end up resulting in a turnover. It's pretty rough.
For me, it's more based off eye test. I don't know the stats exactly on how he is as a playmaker, but my eye test would definitely agree with Thomas. What I will disagree with on Thomas is that I don't think he's a horrible defender, on-ball defender. I don't think he's a horrible on-ball defender. He hustles, and he is like an irritating on-ball defender.
You know, he is actually.
He's an irritable on-ball defender. Like the dude who's like kind of, because he has hustle, he's athletic, so he's always, and he has long arms and all that. But he does get cooked. And you know who I would say a similar thing to would be for Pods. He's that irritable defender. He's just kind of irritating. He's just kind of always like poking at the ball and whatever. Although the difference with Pods and Kuminga is that Pods is a lot smaller. He could get bullied a lot more. But on the flip side, Pods is DIQ is just a lot better.
Yeah.
But what I do agree with is that unfortunately Kuminga is not a good ball handler. Sorry, playmaker.
Yeah.
He's not a good playmaker. And it's just like somebody like he'll like his pass will be kind of half-heartedly, like one-handed. It'll be like if he's trying to push the ball to someone, it just will be towards the person's feet or something like that. I would definitely agree with him just based off my eye test. Wes, you seem like
well, I guess I wouldn't totally disagree with what you guys were saying, but I guess what I more meant is that he's definitely like you can kind of tell that Steph and Dre have kind of mentored him into becoming a more willing passer, which he like towards the beginning of the season he's more like just I'm gonna try to bully my way in, and he definitely still has that. You can see that, but he at least you guys can agree he does, definitely. Even if they're not good passes. Sometimes he tries to make sometimes a little bit.
No, you know what I would say? I think more than the playmaking effect, Steph, Clay, Dre, they maybe taught him like IQ, ball IQ a little bit. Like,
and I think being willing to pass is like
not just running into the rim every single time and just throwing up a shot. Hey, maybe just pause for like 5 seconds and look around. You know what I mean? But that does fall into but playmaking or passing does fall into just better IQ. So sorry, continue.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say like being willing to pass is kind of like the first step in the right direction. That's kind of what we're seeing with Jalen Green. It's like on the Rockets, I guess. But part of the reason he's become a very solid player now is because of his willingness to pass and all that. And obviously, there's a void with Şengün out. But one thing I was curious about was that stat you threw out is with defensive efficiency being 17th and then offensive efficiency being like 12th. You said. Would that be biased by Draymond being out like half the season? Because I mean, I know he affects both ends, obviously, but like he affects the defensive end way more.
That probably would be.
So yeah.
I would also agree with Wes as well, what he was saying earlier. I think, okay, I guess here's how I will phrase it. Here's my stance on it. I think when things are flowing and everyone is doing their role, both our offense and defense look good. However, when people are not
offensively though, I don't know, man. Like
I think so, dude. I'll be honest. When the offense is flowing, it looks beautiful. When Kuminga is doing his role of driving in, when Clay is hitting his shots, when Steph is on fire, Dre is playmaking, it really looks well because we have the pieces, we have the tools, we have the arsenal. But what's the problem is that when things are not falling into place, when Kuminga is not hitting his shots, when Clay is not hitting his shots, when Dre is not playmaking as he could, it just looks really bad then because then we have to force things. And when you have to force things, it's inevitable that it'll look horrible. So my stance is that I think our offense and defense are about the same. And honestly, the stat that Thomas said, considering Dre was out for a period of that, I would imagine it would fluctuate to about the same. It would probably bring our defense back up a couple of notches. Maybe it'd also take our offense up a notch or two. But
Yeah.
if I were to guess, with Dre being back, I would put our defense maybe 13th or 14th, and our offense maybe 10th. So
I mean, is there a way to tell like in a certain period where we rank? Because we could just tell like since he returned from his suspension. I mean, wasn't there like a huge shift? I want to say like before during that stretch when he was suspended for like a month or whatever, we got way better once he returned. I mean that just makes sense, I guess. But I don't know how far we moved up, you know. But I did want to say like I think our defensive floor is higher than our offensive floor because our offensive floor is like just Steph ISO or Kaminga ISO, and that's just totally disjointed. And like at least like the Knicks game when we kind of got cooked, that's kind of like the worst thing that can happen. But like I think offensively is how we lose games when we become really static and Steph's just kind of like chucking up shots against good defense, or Kaminga is getting blocked at the rim because he gets tunnel vision and just goes downhill. You know, I mean, obviously like defense, that's the floors. I mean, the guys. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like a consistent floor. Like
I get your point, and I totally agree. And it's not an insane thing to say by no metric, but I do respectfully disagree, and I'll tell you why. I personally think our offensive ceiling is a lot higher than our defensive ceiling because of Trace as well as being a lob threat, Kaminga being a lob threat, Dre's playmaking ability, CP3's barrel and barrel.
I'm saying the floor. I'm saying the floor though. Like when it just becomes Steph ISO, Kaminga ISO. It's not efficient offense.
But then on the flip side, you could say the same for our defensive floor that is just Dre, who is kind of not enough. You can never have at least offensively, one man could lead you to victory. Steph has done that many times in the season. But defensively, one guy cannot just win you a game. You know what I mean?
I think defensively a guy can win you a game. Wemby does it. Wemby, any of the Spurs wins are just Wemby's defense winning them games though.
But on the flip side, okay, do you think Dre is as dominant defensively as Wemby is?
It's close, I would say.
One man gravitating like gravity wise.
Because Draymond's not.
He's basically the best defender in the league already. So
that's why that's what I was.
I know. But Draymond's not one of the greatest defenders of this generation.
Agreed.
Even this season.
I'm talking about this season.
We saw the switch.
We
saw the switch from when he was suspended to when he came back from suspension. It was like our defense was like 10 times better.
100%.
Even though
100%. But sorry, Thomas, I'm gonna finish this point. What I mean is that the gravity that Wemby has as one man, as a single man, is more than Dre individually. And another thing is that this kind of proves my point too, that again, Wemby being one of the best, or according to Thomas, if not the best defender in the league right now, doesn't just win you games, right? You have to have a competent offense. So again, I think it's just a differing opinion. In my opinion, one man offensively could lead you to victories, but one man defending well enough could not lead you to victories while the offense is not functioning. That's my take. I don't know how Thomas feels about that. I don't know how you feel about that. Again,
that wasn't even my point originally. My point originally was our defensive floor is higher than our offensive floor, even though it's kind of hard to compare your offense versus your defense.
What I just said has to do with that, as in that Steph being our offensive guy, like in some of those games, is still higher than just Dre.
No, but the floor. Okay, think about the average game when it becomes Steph ISO. I don't think that's obviously there's anomalies like in one of the Hawks games. I think Steph put up like 60 on his own, and it was basically just like Steph doing ISO and he cooked. But there's also games where against the Knicks where it was basically just like the offense was just Steph ISO, and it was not as efficient. Even though he put up like 34 or however many he put up, it was not a good offense. And that's the point. I'm not saying Steph can't score. Steph can score.
But defensively, it's not like we were really great that game either, though.
We were all right. We were engaged. That's the thing. Is when you run into a guy like Jalen Brunson, who's one of the greater offensive hubs in the NBA, then there's not much you can do about that. Good offense beats good defense, by the way.
So
True,
in the
true.
last 30 games, the Warriors' offense efficiency would have ranked second in the entire league, and their defense efficiency would have ranked 21st.
Wow.
So this is a true stat. I'm sorry, Wes.
Wait.
It's a true stat. And
Can you send that? I actually
Mhm.
can't believe we're second offensively.
over the last 30 games. And by the way, I'm not saying
Oh,
Warriors' offense efficiency would have ranked second over all teams in the last 30 games. I'm saying if
yeah.
Warriors' offense efficiency over their last 30 games and expanded to the whole season, it would rank second on the entire season. But obviously, that's comparing it to season sample size for other teams.
But that includes like the run that we made post All-Star break or post deadline when we went
Yeah,
like
but I
10
was
and 2, right?
by sampling last 30 games, I was basically going for all the games since Draymond has been back, more or less.
Yeah.
Which to me, that bears out what I've seen on the eye test, which is that the Warriors offense, while it can look ugly, is still incredibly efficient just because Steph and Claire are still two of the most efficient high volume three-point shooters in the league. And that's the most efficient offense there is to be had in the NBA. And because with the addition of Kuminga and Trace Jackson Davis, especially, it's given Draymond some nice outlets for pocket passes and lob passes and just and roll stuff. And even if it doesn't always look as pretty as it's once looked, it's still generally a recipe for a great offense. And defensively, we just do not have the one-on-one personnel, especially with Wiggins taking a noticeable step back. We do not have the one-on-one personnel. The guy that we have to put out there if we want a guy who's capable of locking
Moody?
a good offensive player down is Gary Payton II. But he has so many obvious offensive limitations. You can't run him out there for super long stretches of time. I mean, towards the end of the Timberwolves game, he was out there because we needed somebody to put on Anthony Edwards. He gets on offense, he gets a wide open. He's coming off the short roll. He gets a wide open lane to the basket, goes up for a layup, misses it, and that was the
Oh
possession.
yeah.
Possession right after the Warriors were down 1, and that was the possession to go up to take the lead heading into like the last minute of the game, and that we never got the lead back after that.
Yeah.
Like
That's I guess I'll somewhat not push back, somewhat agree with what you guys are saying. It is kind of tough that it's kind of hard to differentiate between what's really our problem. There's just so many problems, like offensively, defensively. We're just not on par to be contenders. I mean, even if we do solve the defensive, the thing is, like, it seems like we would have like good defensive personnel, like Moody, Draymond, obviously, Gary Payton, Wiggins has. I mean, obviously he's had some lowlights, but he's still he's been a pretty solid body defensively. It's just kind of, I don't know. What do you guys think?
it's not the same.
Yeah, he's not the same. But what do you guys think we should do to like try to solve some of these problems?
I mean, again, it just comes back to what we were saying pre-deadline, pre-trade deadline. It's just you have to do a trade. Mike Dunleavy, my brother, we gave this a shot. We trusted you. You did no trades, albeit it was a tough market. In hindsight, looking at the trades that Siakam got, Markkanen didn't even get traded, and other guys we were talking about in the past, it was a tough market, so we'll give him that. But in the off season, we need to do something. It's impossible for us to go back next season with the same team. It's a spit on the face of Steph, Clay, and Dre. It's a little spit on their face because we have what teams would dream to have for such a long time. We've had it, and you'll still have it next season. And I agree with Wes's optimism that we still have a good shot next season. And I think we do. So who knows what we need to specifically do. Tune in the off season, 3 Points Podcast, youtube.com/3 Points Podcast. But as of right now, I don't know. It would have to be something along the lines of what we were saying pre-trade deadline. With that being said, we could
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, like, what did you guys notice about it? I'm kind of having trouble remembering, but what was going well for us during that like 10 and 2 stretch post deadline? Because at that point, I was like, I believed in us, but then
I
like
did too.
now, I don't know.
Jonathan Kuminga was like averaging like 25 points on 50.
Yeah,
the floor. I think that's basically it. He was a legit second option for about 12 games. And then he went back to being like a more of a third option. Not that I don't think that little stretch, I mean, definitely suggests some things about, I mean, at the age of only 21, it suggests some things about where he could be in 2 or 3 years and what his potential is. And
Yeah.
he's had individual games that I think are similar to the level he was playing at in that stretch, even since then, but it hasn't been consistent. He was consistent for about like a good like 3 week period, which was incredible. Um, I mean, I really do think that's it. Like, it's just so hard to win the NBA when you only have one guy who you can feel comfortable beating their man in isolation consistently. It's really difficult. I mean, to go back to that Minnesota game, which was, I mean, a close game against a good team, that the Warriors were very much in. Like there were at 2 minutes, I think it was completely up in the air as to who was going to win that game. But following that Gary Payton miss, next possession
That
down,
lost all momentum.
we're down 3. What does Steph do? They give him an ISO. He kind of doesn't get that much going. He jacks up a ridiculously difficult 3 from the wing, like literally falling out of bounds. Step back 3 doesn't go in, and then it was gone. We went down 5, and like the game was over.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
it's not to blame Steph, but it's more just like when that's what your offense turns into in crunch time situations.
yeah, it's inevitable.
Because I mean, because everybody knows that's the only guy you can go to get you a bucket like that. Like, you're not going to win that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that answers. I would agree with Thomas. Off the top of my head, I can't remember other factors, but I'm sure there was other smaller factors too that were contributing to why we were doing really great in that run. I would also say Steph was playing a lot more consistently and better.
Yes.
I think that was another thing
Yeah.
that on my mind. He's been unfortunately a little bit inconsistent, but again, he's 36 years old. I would honestly expect it around this time for him to maybe again. It's tough to say. Like I said this again a couple episodes. It's so difficult to say when that slight decline starts, or if it's a rapid decline, or if it's like a like one notch down, or it's just so tough to say in this day and age of the
Yeah.
NBA, just because primes are getting pushed out by so much. I was having a discussion. I went to SoCal this past weekend, and of course the home of the Fakers, home of LeBron fans. And we were naturally, so it must be written on my face. Every dude somehow I ended up having a LeBron and Jordan GOAT debate discussion with. So
There's
back
no
to
point.
Friday night and Saturday night, I had two separate debates with two other random people, and random people like people at the mosque or whatever. And one of the points that they always bring is LeBron's insane longevity. Agreed. Agreed. It is an insane longevity. I wholeheartly agree. But
Are we turning this to a Jordan LeBron debate right now?
No. But this is kind of looping back
I
into
don't really want it.
my prime. What my point was about primes, and it's tough to say. Is because a prime nowadays, and to why I brought up the LeBron and Jordan thing is because LeBron's prime is amazing, but Kareem's prime is so insanely impressive because he had that prime in the goddamn 70s and 80s, where the average prime was significantly less than that. You look at the NBA now, you have guys like Steph, who are 36-year-old, guys like LeBron, who are still competing at an extremely good level. In
KD.
the 70s, 80s, KD, another great example. In the 70s,
Paul George, who's
Paul
34
George.
and still basically a superstar.
Kawhi Leonard,
Kawhi.
who's playing well.
Yeah.
So you look at guys like that, and they're still the face of the league. For the most, Jokic, Embiid, there's probably one
Giannis,
tier
yeah.
above. Giannis a tier above. But
Based
point
on fraudulence, yeah.
point
He's
though
number one.
is that they're still elite. You go to the 70s and the 80s, it's just not possible. So in my opinion, Kareem's longevity is still more impressive than LeBron's, just because of the factors that you see surrounding the league. Does that mean LeBron's longevity is not
Impressive? No.
unbelievably amazing?
Yes.
No, it does not mean that.
Yes, it does.
It does not mean that by at all. But it is a knock on it a little bit just because of the league nowadays. And this loops back. I brought this up because of what we were talking about. Steph. It's just so hard to tell when that dip starts to happen. That permanent dip. You know what I mean? There is dip in performances throughout the season. That's inevitable. But that permanent dip, which we've seen in Thompson, because of injuries, which we've seen unfortunately in Wiggins because no one knows why. We will find out on the day of judgment when we all die and we get up. And it'll be my first question. What's up, Allah? What was up with Wiggins? What happened in 2024, 2023, 2024? What's up with that?
I gotta know.
I don't know. If he's in heaven, send him down. So we don't know. We just don't know about Steph's prime. So we'll have to see next season.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was to answer your question about what were our differentiating factors in that run. But with that being said, I think that was just we kind of got into a lot of different avenues and alleys of discussion and discourse whilst talking about the Knicks game. We comfortably won the Grizzlies game. When would you look at that? Wiggins with a dominating performance. 22, 10, and 3. He showed up when we did not need him. It's you love to see it, man. It's a beautiful thing. Kuminga also had a great game, 26 points, 5-4. This was like the Kuminga we saw in that amazing run we had. And we also had a good performance by Clay, 23 points. By the way, subtle shout out. He's been consistently doing his role in these 4 games. He had 18, he then had 23, and then he had 17, and then he had 16. So is he the 38 points in a quarter, Clay? Or was it 36 points in a quarter, Clay? No, he's not, obviously. Unfortunate. But he's doing his role, he's doing it well, and he's being consistent at least. You seem like you wanted to say something.
No, I was just trying to think. Wait, was it 36 or was it 38? I low-key can't remember.
Oh, why don't we just fact?
Or was it 37?
Actually, that's a good point. Klay Thompson points in a quarter. 37 points.
Yeah.
So right in the middle.
Yeah.
Good pull, Thomas.
But yeah, I mean, dude, shout out to Klay Thompson. He's been one of the only bright spots, which is kind of weird considering how the season started off. But
like bright spots in perspective to his role.
All-Star break, he's been one of the genuine bright spots on the team.
To his new role.
In the context of the way that he has approached his new role and accepted his new role and succeeded in his new role. And there have been multiple games where his hot shooting coming off the bench has absolutely kept us in games or elevated us to leads that we would not have gotten otherwise. And when you compare the way that he's playing to, I mean, again, it's the obvious comparison to make, but to Wiggins, who was the other kind of like early season, they were kind of both, they were equally hated amongst the Warriors fan base early in the season for their performance. And comparing the way that they have, their progression has gone as the season has gone along, Klay Thompson obviously comes out ahead in that comparison. So, I mean, good for him. I mean,
shout out.
This real Warriors fans obviously expected it all along. I've been saying the entire time that people were hating on earlier in the season that really what's going on is that he's in a shooting slump. And as much as it sucks, as much as it's the worst possible time for it to happen, he's going to get out of it at some point. And yes, he's obviously very diminished defensively, but you can't expect him to continue shooting this badly the rest of the season because it's who he's been his entire career.
Agreed.
It's not going to change.
Absolutely.
With we're talking about Klay Thompson, legendary Warriors shooting guard, been playing the team for almost 13 years at this point.
Four-time champ.
He'll tell you himself. But yeah, I just that was kind of just my quick shout out to him.
Quick glaze, rightful glaze of Klay Thompson. So yeah, Grizzlies game, comfortable. Trace, 19 points. But again, I think he was 9 for 9 from the field. Again, a lot of those like points are like kind of like I can't remember if it was Clint Capella or it was Nas Reed who had like a 11 for 11 or like they had like a perfect.
Nas Reed probably.
No, it was
he played so good against us.
Daniel Gafford had 30.
No.
32 consecutive field goals.
You guys are in completely different realm. I'm talking about like years ago.
Oh, years ago.
This was just like, or was it Nene or something like that? There was just like they had like a 25-point game with no field goals missed. And I was kind of drawing that to Trace because it was all just easy.
Could have been DeAndre Jordan too. He did a lot of stuff.
It was not DeAndre Jordan. I know for a fact.
Wait, do you know what team? The person was on?
I think it was Clint with the Rockets.
Clint could absolutely.
It was Clint with the Rockets.
Absolutely.
And why did I bring this up randomly? One, to flex a little bit. I know a little bit of ball, but also to bring up the fact that it was similar to that game where it wasn't like a 100% field goal like Kaminga had a couple of games ago.
Yeah.
Or not a couple of games ago, like earlier in the season where
Yeah.
he was like hitting jumpers and stuff. It's more like easy, like lays
Lobs.
and stuff and lobs. But shout out Trace because he's still getting them done. He also did have 3 blocks, if I'm not mistaken, in that game. Sorry, he had 2. So shout out. He's doing his stuff. He's doing his role. That's what we need.
Yeah.
We need
I
players to
mean,
do their role.
Trace is nice. I mean, because he really is the only above average finisher we have on the team. Kaminga, to a certain degree, I still wish Kaminga had a little bit more touch, but obviously Kaminga's athleticism allows him to get up for a lot of lobs and stuff that a lot of players just couldn't even try.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's a great finisher in that sense, but TJD is like a genuinely good finisher. He has touch, and he has athleticism, touch, just all that stuff. He is the only one on this team who consistently converts attempts at the rim that I do not expect him to. Whereas a lot of other players on the team seem to miss attempts at the rim that I would expect them to make, including sometimes Kaminga, although again, I don't want to take anything away from him. He has had some incredible dunks off of lobs and stuff this year. But
Yeah.
so
So
Trace,
that was a subtle, quick shout out to Trace.
quick shout out to Trace.
Curry also had a pretty solid. Oh, sorry, Curry struggled. Apologies. 14 points. Again, struggled. It wasn't like a struggle. It just wasn't a super dominating performance. 14 points.
He was taking a back.
He was taking a back seat, rightfully so. His back must be hurting.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty easy, comfortable win, which damn straight it should be. It's the goddamn Grizzlies. Thomas made a very good point though. For some reason, GG Jackson just seems to be popping off against us.
Dude,
Santi
Santi
Aldama
Aldama also had 27. Dude, he was
Santi Aldama, Santi Aldama.
Santi Aldama was fucking. It was hilarious. He was so hot at one point, and his teammates were completely freezing him out, and I felt so bad for him. I mean, I guess the young team, they're not thinking about it like that. But like, dude, he had hit like 5 in a row, and he was like, trying to come off a screen, and they were just like staring at him and not passing the ball. And I was like, damn, that's tough.
Yeah, I think the reason GG Jackson pops off against us is because he played on CP's AAU team when like CP was his coach in AAU.
Well, that must be.
So yeah, that's why.
Jesus Christ. I can't imagine a guy. Can you imagine how seriously CP3 takes AAU basketball? Can you imagine how annoyed he is when his players make like fundamental mistakes? Must be hell.
I wonder if he wins rings there. If his team is just as
No, they made
regular,
the
regular season heavy. Oh, they won.
Yeah, no.
You just like make that up.
Made that up. No,
I believed it.
They made the championship every year, but it's just
They always fall short.
They always just came up a little bit short. It's unfortunate.
Dude, I'm so happy that Booker probably will. Hopefully, he never wins a ring. Dude, that annoying. He's so annoying. Just another subtle shout out to his annoyingness. Piece of crap. Most punchable face in the freaking league. So, comfortable win, though. Good news. We got it. So, what does that tell us? We are definitely a play-in team, at least. So, shout out us.
No, we're not.
Look, what is
The Rockets are.
Okay, let's just put it in perspective. The Charlotte Hornets were a play-in team.
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. So we are a play-in team. That's all that means. That we could beat the bottom of the barrel, trash teams.
The Heat were a playing team last year.
Who?
The Heat.
You were a playing team last year. Dude, the Heat, that's the one like vague vestige of hope that I'm holding on to. We can do it too. We have as much talent on our roster as the Heat did last year. Now, to be fair, the Western Conference is probably a lot more of a gauntlet than the Eastern Conference was last year. And to make it out, we're gonna have to make it past the Nuggets, which even I, the most optimistic, that's the one line I've drawn for myself.
Optimistic is a nice word.
I'm
delusion.
I'm the most optimistic Warriors fan. I just don't think. I don't think we can beat the Nuggets.
Something insane.
It's probably not happening. But I
delusion.
But like, we can. There's no reason if the Heat did it last year, making around of the I was about to say the in-season tournament, the play-in tournament. We can do it too. I mean, shit. The Lakers made the Western Conference Finals out of the play-in tournament too.
Who'd
We
they
could
beat
definitely
on
do
the way
that. What?
Who'd they beat on the way there?
I don't remember.
But
I mean, we can at least do that. And look, you can call me like insane or whatever. I would much rather watch this team play as many playoff games as possible.
Oh, I
than
agree.
just see us go out early.
wait, what?
I mean,
Yeah. Wait, what? Wes, you disagree with
I
me?
know that's why I was saying you can call me insane because
I want to change my stance very slightly. I want to say I think it would be good for our player development, like Kuminga, Pajemski, Trace. But I don't think it would be worth the stress to watch us lose
No,
close
it's
games
worth
in the
it. It's
playoffs.
worth it. Bro,
I don't think it's
0.01% chance is better than 0%.
Exactly.
Sorry, I am as big of a critic, constructive critic as you are, my brother. But I want us to play as much ball as we can.
Exactly. Yeah.
Why would I want to just get out and give us a 0% chance versus a 0.01%? We could be the greatest chip of all time.
We believe. We believe 2.0.
Although I'm a realist as
Like,
well.
they didn't win the championship. They won one round.
The Warriors won one game. I'm just going 100%. We believe. We believe.
Look, I still see this team.
I mean, I still want us to make the playoffs. It's just for player development instead of like actually watching us lose those games or game if it's just the play-in.
Okay, brother, we're winning the play-in. Come on.
We're gonna win the.
Come on.
We can't win one play.
Bro just lost all
I
hope.
don't think so.
The Lakers. We just saw this team beat the Lakers. We're like 2-2 against them this year. Why would you say it's guaranteed that we're gonna lose them in the play?
Bro, AD didn't play half that game.
We would have beat them by twice as much as we did if we was in, and you know.
I'm dead.
Also,
Yeah, maybe.
we were very close with them. Remember the OT game, double OT thriller?
Well, yeah, that was a classic game.
So
That could have gone. They could have easily gone other teams' way. I mean, the
Exactly.
Warriors were in.
no, look, I still see this team. They could make it. I think they'll make it to the first round. They could even make it to the second round, I think.
If they play who? Who do you think they would beat in the first round?
I guess let's look at the seedings.
I
Yeah.
think the Warriors would easily have a chance against any team.
Look, so if let's say the season were to end right now, and we
I
would,
think OKC. Yeah, I think OKC.
okay, the
Good
season ends
chance.
right now. We play against the Lakers for the first game of the play-in.
Wait, do you guys want to save this for a different episode actually? Because this is like bordering on like playoff predictions.
True playoff prediction.
True,
We'll
yeah.
stop it right here. So anyway, so back to the Pacers and the Warriors. I don't know where did we even mention this game?
I don't think we did. One thing that I mean, it's a common.
Oh yeah, I was saying that. Oh, we're a playing team. Blah
Yeah.
blah blah blah. And we all. So anyway, so then following that, we played a good, competent team, the Pacers, and now this is our second loss to them in a row. Unfortunately, the Pacers just played well. Pascal Siakam, Turner, Halliburton. Goddamn.
Yeah, another interesting thing. Tyrese Halliburton, who was coming into that game off like the single longest cold streak of his career, one of the worst stretches of basketball he's played, has a magical bounce back game against our perimeter defense. Just another common trend. Like, I mean, he was like 0 for 20 in his last 23-point attempts, and all of a sudden, against us. I mean, you could say, oh, it's like, but I don't know.
We're just not athletic enough on the perimeter to keep up with these quick guards like Brunson, Halliburton.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because Wiggins, GP2, you'd hope that would be enough, but it's obviously not. So, and then from the Warriors side, Kuminga, not a very good game. Wiggins, with a vintage performance, classic Wiggins performance. Dre doing Dre things. Steph, 25 points, not enough, obviously, if he's the only one playing. Podzemski kind of had a game, 13 points. You love to see it. I have to mention this before I keep on forgetting. We have not pointed out the abrupt disappearance of Saric's role on this team. He's just kind of not been given minutes anymore.
Yeah.
Against the Grizzlies, he got 5 minutes. It's unfortunate because offensively he's good-ish. To get those 6, 7, 8 points, those quick like pump fake, underneath the rim, using the rim as protection lays. But defensively, he's just so bad. And as Thomas pointed out, statistically, and I guess the eye litmus test, according to him, and even to myself, our defense is not strong. So we cannot have more weak defenders out there. It would just be over for us. So, but that was a small segue. I just want to point that out. But yeah, Clay, again, consistent 17. Just not enough, though. It's just not enough. Why? I think a big factor, you look at our number 2 option, who's supposed to be a very good number 2 option, dropped 11 points. If he drops 25 points, who knows? 123 to 111, add 14 points to it.
It's Warriors win.
It's a Warriors win. But basketball is as simple as that.
In my book, that's
So, but point being, it would have been a closer game.
Yeah.
The last game of the last 4 this last week was against the Timberwolves.
that one hurt.
And that one did hurt because it seemed like
Dude, honestly, at this point, I'm just taking moral victories. If it was close, That's all I can ask for, honestly. I'll take it.
Yeah, I think honestly it's funny because generally I'm the real pessimistic guy of the group, but I still see optimism. I still am optimistic in the regard that we're better than this, guys. We're better than
I think the real outrage regarding this game on like Warriors fan spaces like the Reddit and Twitter and stuff has
Wiggins
been
missed free throws.
well, that's the discussion. It's been Steph only getting 30 minutes in a game that was very much winnable. That
Oh yeah, that's right.
that was very much winnable, and that for the standings we really kind of needed to win if we wanted to stay
Dude,
with striking
yeah,
distance.
I did see like someone point out that we were up 5 with like 3 minutes left to go in the third, and then Steph was put back in once we were down 5 with 6 minutes left in the fourth, and then like by that point,
People
the
were
game is
pointing out
flipped.
the specific kind of like inflection point people were pointing out was there was a timeout call with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, at which point the game was, I think we were tied or maybe we were up 1, but it was an incredibly close game. And instead of putting Steph back in after that timeout, Steve Kerr instead decided to put him in 3 minutes later. Now, obviously, the difference between 33 and 30 minutes played it's negligible. I mean, this is fucking Steph Curry.
But that's the difference between winning a close game like that.
No, exactly. That's the point. The difference in minutes played is negligible, but the difference in terms of impact, whether in regards to whether or not we win the game, is pretty huge. It's 3 more minutes without Steph on the court, and in those 3 minutes, the Warriors end up going down, and then they had a hole to dig themselves out of by the time that Steph did get back in. And after the game, Steve Kerr in the press conference said, "Oh, I'm not super worried about that because we have Chris Paul out there."
Oh God!
Which was the subject.
Is that like sarcastic? Roasting
No, it was
Chris
not
Paul?
sarcastic. He was being dead, like 100% dead serious. That was a subject of most of the outrage and the mockery of Steve Kerr. I found it pretty funny. I mean, in a bad way, in the sense that like how not then like, oh, good one, Steve Kerr.
Yeah, he's losing it.
Yeah, you're losing it, Steve Kerr. What are you talking about? What are you
goddamn crackhead?
Yeah, I mean it's ridiculous. I mean, and again, this is another thing. Like Chris Paul is like a perfect example of like all the Warriors struggles this season because he's such an imperfect player at this stage in his career. He has obvious positive traits, but he also just has these massive weaknesses in his game that like make his presence on the court obviously detrimental in certain ways.
You know what? I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just got a great analogy to what Chris Paul is right now. So it's like having like a 2K player whose everything is 65 except for his passing. His bag is so stiff. It's like his handle. It just reminds me of those default 2K handle animation. It's like slow, can't really do much. Give that same 65 overall, like an 85 passing ability, couple of good passing animations. Call for you, baby.
No, I mean, but that's the thing. Like his ability to run the pick and roll is still genuinely, especially for a 39-year-old, is pretty incredible. The like efficiency, the ruthlessness with which he runs that pick and roll and manages to find the right option basically every time is pretty incredible. But he just literally is incapable of creating a shot for himself that is not an incredibly contested mid-range pull-up. That's the only shot he has in his bag left. It's the only one. If he's going to create a shot, it's going to be that shot, and it either goes in or it doesn't. But it's not really that efficient. He's not a spot-up three-point shooter. He's all right, but he's not that great, and he doesn't move off ball that well either, so he doesn't create himself a lot of opportunities from there. And defensively, oh my God, he's always been small. He's always been 6 foot, but he is so unathletic by this point. He's just does not have any lateral quickness. I mean, guys can go over him, around him, through him, whatever they want.
Oh, whoever offense, baby.
It's whoever offense. And he's just not a good enough offensive player to justify that over long stretches. Now, I still kind of like him running the bench, and I mean, it's fine. It is what it is. Like the bench unit has been better this season. I think a large part is because he brings that stability offensively. He creates whatever the best look that he can. He's
not Jordan Poole. It's pretty low bar, but yeah, he's not Jordan Poole.
He's not Jordan Poole. But the absurdity, the ridiculousness of that remark by Steve Kerr to suggest that it's even comparable to have Steph and Chris Paul out there running the offense is hilarious. I mean, there's no other.
It's just so.
There's no
bad.
word for that.
That's just bad.
I don't know what he was saying that.
I think he's just he really is losing it. I think he's just old. The brother is old. He's how I think he's late 60s, right?
I think we already looked this up before.
Oh, what
This
the
is-
hell? He's late 50s. He's been drinking or something? Bro's age, bro. What? The wrinkles are like exponentially increasing, dog.
That's dealing with Draymond for 7 years.
I mean, look at Greg Pop. Greg. Look at Greg. Greg.
My guy Greg.
My homeboy Greg. Look at Pop. He's a lot older. Wife died too, and he doesn't look super.
Well, all he had to do was like Tim
He's
Duncan, who's like the most mild mannered guy ever.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's had to deal with like the Spurs being trash for like
I guess
five
he doesn't care
years.
that much.
But it was like a stress free trash. Like you're not expected to do
Yeah,
anything.
exactly. He's just been like
Mill
having
around.
all of these last
I guess.
like 5 years. No, I mean,
Yeah.
dude.
Anyways, so I think just to kind of bring it back full circle to the Timberwolves game, it was a great performance. Like when you look at the Timberwolves stats, that's a team that you look like, wow, this is a good team, you know? 8,
without
20,
Cat.
without Cat as well. Think about 8, 20, 17, 23, 14, 10, 11, 8, 3. That's the whole stat sheet. That is a team that's deep. That's a team that everyone is playing. That's a team that people are there to win. Unfortunately, when you look at our lineup, it looks like, I mean, actually, when I look at the stats, 14, 15, 12, 31, 7, 16, 6, 2, 7. It looks kind of the same. But what is the major problem? Steph was taken out for not significant amount of time, for crucial.
Yeah.
And our number 2 option fails to show up. Again, not Kuminga's fault entirely, the situation that he has been placed.
Yeah. I mean, the Timberwolves are deep up and down the roster defensively too. Like not just offensively. I mean, obviously
Yes.
we know
I mean,
they're
that's
just
the
great
thing
all
about
around.
every single guy in that roster is basically a plus defender at their position. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe you could make
Even like Mike Conley, I
5-year-old
guess.
Mike Conley is probably. I mean, not that I've like been studying Mike Conley film, but I would guess he's probably a lot slower and less tenacious than he was.
But the thing with like Rudy Gobert in the post, then that can kind of be mitigated a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and the reality is like Mike Conley is a guy who at his peak was considered one of the best defenders at the point guard position in the entire league. Again, not that I've been studying Mike Conley film, something would tell me he's still probably a decent to above average defender at that position. But then you look at like, I mean, Anthony Edwards and Jaden McDaniels on the wing. I mean, Ant is kind of on and off because he's forced to shoulder a big offensive load. But when he's engaged, he's a great defender. He has the length, the lateral quickness, the athleticism, the strength. He has it all. Jaden McDaniels, you don't really need to say anything. He's one of the premier wing defenders in the league. And then you have Gobert, who's been a defensive player of the year candidate every year for the past like 8 years, anchoring everything. Then and Kyle Anderson, who's also like a lanky, long, tenacious defender. I mean, you go down the roster. They have defensive talent at every position, and that's kind of thing. That is the kind of roster that wins things.
Unfortunately, they had to lose Cat.
Unfortunately, I had to lose Cat, and I think if we're doing a little quick Timberwolves analysis, I was noticing this just watching them try to execute against our defense, which, as I said, is, in my opinion, not the greatest. They're actually suffering from a little bit of the same problem that the Warriors are, where they lack a clear second option. Gobert's the second best player on the team, but he is in no way a second offensive option, and he's never has been, never will be. Cat was definitely that guy for them. Outside of that, you have Mike Conley, who is just not athletic enough to beat guys off the dribble anymore. You have
McDaniels,
the pure 3-and-D, and he's not going to create that much for himself. I mean, obviously, you have Ant, who's the one, and he's a perfectly fine, a great one. But I would actually be a little bit hesitant on, like if we were buying stock in them, I would probably not buy any stock in them in the playoffs without Cat, because just the way that the execution was looking towards the end of that game, they were relying on Jaden McDaniels' fadeaway jumpers. That's not going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. It's like Rudy Gobert really is like, obviously, like with the way that roster is constructed, it's not a problem, but it does start to become a problem when you just like, you literally cannot throw the ball into Rudy Gobert in the post. It's just not even an option because he's just not going to ever give you a efficient offense like that. So like that's going to really hamstring again. I think Cat's out for the season. I don't know for sure, but I think he is.
Oh, he is. Shit.
Yeah, he's out for the season.
He is, right?
Yeah, he's out for like 6-7 months, I think.
Yeah. Really?
I
Damn,
could have
okay,
sworn
yeah.
it was-
No, I mean that.
I thought it was like he could potentially come back for the playoffs. But
Torn meniscus.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that's
Maybe he's back. Okay, then. The never mind. The new is maybe he's back, but we don't know when.
Okay, as of actually March. So
He'll need surgery to repair the injury. What surgery? And he's only had a month.
I
That seems
don't buy
kind of
that.
insane.
I don't buy that. I
it's
think
probably
he'll
like
be out.
a
I think
Kevin
he'll be
Durant
out
situation.
for-
Like
I think he'll be out for a bit of the playoffs too, and I doubt they'll even want to rush him back in. Why would you want to risk permanently damaging him? You run it back next season. A lot of their core is
Yeah.
probably going to be the same, right? Maybe Mike Conley will regress more. Rudy
Gobert's getting
Gobert,
up there.
he's getting
He's
up there.
Who's he? 30.
But the thing is
31?
that the great thing about him is that he's so tall and long. As a rim protector, you could be a little bit older.
And obviously like what makes him so great is all the instincts and the
instinct,
feel
exactly.
for rim protection that
Exactly.
he just has.
Although you do lose like quickness a little
Yeah.
bit.
I mean,
You do lose
Yeah.
reaction speed.
You saw Marc Gasol play the same role more or less at like the age of 36 for a championship team
Yeah.
with the
Raptors.
with the Raptors. So I wouldn't be too worried about an
Yeah.
immediate Rudy
Absolutely.
Gobert regression.
Yeah, so if I'm the Timberwolves front office, let the lineup go. I think they could make a good run. Don't think they could win it. Don't see them going past maximum the Western Conference Finals. Don't see it because the Nuggets would just beat them. But next season, run it back. Who knows? Anthony's getting better.
Hopefully if they play, hopefully we get a repeat of that that Jokic brother. I have 47. You guys remember that?
I don't.
Well, who did he say that against? I remember seeing that, but I forget.
When Gobert waved off, they're sending help, and Gobert waved him off, and then Jokic looked at him and said, "Brother, I have 47."
Actually,
Yes.
oh, that's
Legendary.
That's actually so good. Wow.
That's all
Anyway,
funny.
so that's the recap of the last 4 games. We are unfortunately 1-3 in them. This week until our next episode, we will have another 4 games. We have the Heat tomorrow, which is also a kind of an important game because what does it show us? They're a play-in team as well. Where do we stand against other play-in teams?
They're our model now. That's our
They're our model.
Yeah,
exactly.
We have to.
We trying to be like you, my boy.
Exactly.
Then after that, the Magic should be an easy win. Knock on goddamn wood. The
The
Hornets.
Magic are good, bro. The Magic are good.
Magic are good.
Oh, sorry, I'm thinking of the Pistons. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the Magic are about.
It's another play-in team, right? Or no, they're
fourth
5th,
seed.
right?
They're the 4th seed, East, I thought. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
5th.
fifth seed.
5th seed. Yeah.
I think
So
they beat us last time, or I think it was like a couple months ago. But
They're
yeah,
actually. I do like our matchup against them just because they're not a great shooting team, and
yeah.
we've
Their strength is their defense, but yeah.
We've struggled the most against teams who can light it up on the perimeter, but
yeah, so that's gonna be 2 back-to-back good
and then
games.
if we lose to the Hornets,
Hornets,
Oh,
we
I'm-
should just stop watching for the rest of the season.
Oh no, I'm not. I won't stop watching. I'll stop living. I'm going to kill myself
Put him on suicide watch.
if we lose to the Hornets.
Yeah, that would be really embarrassing. Then the Spurs on Sunday, which I would also.
And we already lost to them, so I can't even say anything.
But it should be so basically, if we're anything less than 2-2 in the next 4 games, it would be like
Ooh.
It's literally over. And
It's
even
over.
I have to say that.
It's over.
But it's not. That's not gonna happen.
we
it's not
should
gonna
be.
happen.
We should be. We should be
It's
3-1.
not happening.
We should
It's not
be.
happening.
We should be 3-1. Ideally, hey, 4-0.
4-0. It would be nice.
4-0.
Man, boy, does that sound nice. But we're gonna have to find out in the future.
Oh, and then well, one last closing remark. I was talking about this earlier. I don't know. I remember if it was with West or Hassan. We have 3 games left against the Mavericks. That I know. I think the rational Warriors fan, which you guys are, I'm not. The rational Warriors fan
0-3.
kissed any hope of getting the 8th seed goodbye. I have not. 3 games against the Mavericks, who are currently in the 8th seed.
We have 2.
That is. Wait, what the? Oh shoot, dude! The Yahoo app showed me 3. Oh, that
Well,
damn.
there
I was about to
goes
say, three is
That
a
dampens
lot.
my excitement greatly.
there goes his delusion.
Damn it.
Played against the
Um,
Jazz twice. The Mavs
man.
twice. The Jazz. We play against the Rockets, which is gonna be a big game. God damn it!
I know exactly.
That's gonna be the NBA fun.
Um,
So, anyways, continue with your delusional point.
but honestly, 2 games is still slightly enough to make the point. If we win them both, that immediately because right now we are how many games out
Oh.
of the 8th seed? We are 5 games out. 2 wins.
How many more times do we play the Nuggets? Maybe we
What?
can get the 1 seed. Maybe we can get the 1 seed. How many more times do we play the Nuggets?
Well, actually, we're about like 20 years behind the Nuggets, so the logic wouldn't be exactly.
Ah,
But
So,
2
but
games against the Mavericks
anyways,
is
yeah.
genuinely enough to make up a semi-realistic portion of the games that we're back to make it semi-realistic to get that 8 seed. And the reality is, why not 5 games? We have 15 games left, I think, to play, or 14. We're 5 games at 8 seed. Why not make that the goal? Because if reality
it is the goal, but like
is the goal. And reality is the goal can't be just stay in front of the Rockets, because that.
Well, unfortunately, brother, that's the state our team is in at this point.
But the broader point is the broader point is that you cannot make that your goal, because you cannot be running something. You have to be chasing something. You have to want something. You cannot be running. That's weakness. You need to be chasing. You need to
Tell Wiggins that, brother.
Thomas, they need you in the locker room. They need you in the locker room right now.
They do.
We need that like vintage Steph with his muscles glistening, where he's like yelling at them. I think it was against the Bucks.
Yeah.
We need that. But anyways. With that being said, let's knock on wood, ladies and gentlemen. Ramadan. Gotta put the accent on for the fans at home. But for my Muslims out there, Ramadan, we gotta hope, we gotta pray. So Amal are coming. Laylatul Qadr Amals are coming, bro. Pray it up. Hopefully we could do something with the remainder of the season. With that being said, we'll catch you guys next week.